Hello, fight fans. Seattle Mike MMA with friends with a major update to next Saturday's card, UFC Las Vegas 14. Hit that like button if you like everything violence, boxing, MMA. Hit that subscribe button. You want to join the family and ring that bell so you're notified whenever I drop a new video or go live like next week for a card that is shaping up to be about as injured as Thiago Santos was in the second half of that John Jones fight. Unfortunately, there's a few of these fighters that will not be able to continue. And this is where a lot of MMA journalists would pull some clickbait and they would make this entire video because, the guy you never heard of in the 12th bout that was making his UFC debut, out of MMA is Fun India, broke his thumb. That's not the case. Unfortunately, several major blows to this card, and both of them on the main card. One of them we've known for a few days, but it's still very unfortunate. One of my favorite fighters to watch, as I mentioned. The start of the main card, the first fight at welterweight scheduled was Daniel Rodriguez versus Bryan Barberena. But this is a picture of Mr. Barberena recently in his hospital room. Unfortunately, had to undergo intense emergency surgery. This was not something that could wait. We do have some updates. We're still waiting to kind of find out the whole scope of it, but this is pretty good description of what's going on. And somebody on his team posted this. It says Bryan had an emergency exploratory lobotomy due to internal bleeding from a couple ruptured arteries in his omentum. He had 1.5 liters of blood in his abdomen. Bryan's surgery was successful. Well, thank God for that. He is having pain, which is expected, but he is doing good. The doctor said because he is young and healthy, he will have a quick recovery. Unfortunately, due to the surgery, Bryan will not be fighting on November 14th. Totally understandable. He is extremely disappointed and was ready to put on a show, but he will be back ASAP once he's healed. He apologizes to his opponent, Daniel Rodriguez, and wishes him all the best. There are not enough words in the world to properly thank our support system. We have an incredible family and our friends we call family, and we are so blessed. Team Bam Bam. First of all, Bryan Barberena, obviously, you don't have to apologize to anybody. I'm sure, myself and all of you guys, I'm sure we're just happy that he's okay. Wish him a speedy recovery. And, of course, it looks like they will be looking for an opponent for Daniel Rodriguez at welterweight. Otherwise, maybe something else will get moved up to the top of the card. But this next one, this just got broke within this hour, less than 30 minutes ago, from Brett Okamoto of ESPN, who for some unknown reason breaks all the major news out there. I'm not sure why he's the guy, but apparently he's the guy. There's some good news, bad news, any news that everybody needs to know that nobody knows yet. Brett Okamoto is the guy that they give him a phone call and says, to the Brett phone and say, hey, Brett, you want to relay this to the world? So this is his tweets. Now from 34 minutes ago, the first one. Breaking. Islam Makhachev is out of Saturday's UFC Fight Night main event. Per sources, UFC looking for a short notice replacement to face Rafael dos Anjos on Saturday. So they're going to have to find somebody. I'm reporting to this on Sunday, so they got 6 days. It could be worse because it could be later in the week, but that is not much downtime. It's just such a bummer. Second time This fight has been canceled. The other time, I believe, was at UFC 254. They're supposed to fight. Islam left Fight Island last month prior to his friend and teammate Khabib Nurmagomedov's last fight, so he could get to Vegas and prepare for his first UFC event. I was really looking forward to that matchup. So was I, Brett. So was I. That is heartbreaking. That is horrible. It's, like I said, undisclosed injury. So prayers out to Islam Makhachev and his family and team. And you hope that this is not something incredibly serious. And I could speculate a lot of things because of new rules and the way the UFC runs shop. But at this time, I'm just not going to yet. Just out of respect for the fighters involved in this and the process. But let me know, what do you guys think? Who do you think replaces Islam Makhachev? Who do you want to see replace him? And is anybody able to get in there on 6 days? Should they replace Brian Barberena against Daniel Rodriguez, or is there somebody to bring up on the prelims? Do you put a whole nother fight on? Do you find somebody for Daniel Rodriguez? Maybe somebody that was very close to their contract, a Dana White Contender Series. Maybe somebody just signed from DWCS that doesn't have a fight yet and throw him in. That's a tough first fight for a guy like Rafael Dos Anjos, though. I'm not sure how you get somebody that's going to be a high enough ranked that they should be fighting Rafael Dos Anjos, that you're going to normally be scheduling that fight, and that it's fair to ask him to do it within 6 days. That is an overwhelming request. And I think some of these guys that have taken so many fights on short notice, I think it's actually shortening their careers. Or at least they show, the effects of that for several fights or years afterwards. I wouldn't do it. If I was in the fight game, I was one of the only guys, I think, that stood up for John Jones when, he got a replacement opponent and they said, you're going to be facing Chael Sonnen because of the injury and 8 days notice, and he was a champion. He's like, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I'm just not going to do it. 8 days is not enough time for me to prepare. And he already had the weight cut and everything. He's like, I prepared for a specific opponent. It's just not in my best interest to fight within 8 days to save this card and put myself out there against a guy and against a style that I haven't been training for. And, whether you agree with that or not, should a John have done it? Maybe. I don't know. But that's up to him, and that's not something that I think we can expect of him. Because, if you're going to be ecstatic and sing the praises of a guy that jumps in like that, oh man, he didn't have to do that. He jumps in on something like that. When you say that, when you get mad that somebody else didn't jump in, you're kind of going back to the first guy and saying, hey, this kind of, everybody should kind of do this. What you did really wasn't that special. And I don't think that's always the thought process that goes through people's minds when they say it, but maybe it should. Maybe it should. And that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about this whole debacle of UFC on Vegas 14, because my mind is blown right now. All right, guys. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses later.